Imagine awakening, only to realize you are no longer flesh, no longer human, you are something else, a prison of living metal, your voice stolen, your soul hollow, condemned to serve for all eternity. Your eyes open, yet you no longer blink. The world is sharp, too sharp, every detail carved into your sight with inhuman precision. You try to breathe, but there is no breath. You try to scream, but your throat is a hollow echo chamber, a mockery of what it once was. And still you feel the scream rising inside you, clawing for release, yet it will never reach the air. It will never be heard. You raise a hand to your face. It is not a hand. Fingers of cold alloy, jagged and skeletal, scrape together with a shriek like grinding stone. Your joints groan, stiff from eons of stillness. You are alive, and yet you are not. Somewhere in the void of your mind, a voice speaks without words. It is not yours. It is command. It is instruction. You must rise. You must obey. And so, as you lurch forward on legs that are not your own, a single truth pierces what remains of your soul. You will never die, and you will never escape. What would you do if eternity was your prison? 60 million years before mankind first carved fire from flint, before terror even knew the dawn of its first civilizations, there was another people, the Necron. Their lives were cruelly short. Their bodies frail, rotting beneath a malignant sun that burned their skin, scarred their flesh, and poisoned their blood. Imagine a people cursed from birth to suffer, to wither long before wisdom or power could root itself. Imagine a life where each day you feel death in your bones, gnawing, inevitable. That was the fate of the Necron. Their cities were monuments of desperation, great spires of obsidian and stone, rising like skeletal fingers from desert wastes. Shadows stretched long across barren plains, beneath skies of bitter fire. In these tomb cities, they plotted and cursed, their faces pale, their frames thin, every eye burning with envy. For beyond their dying sun, others thrived. The Old Ones, ancient beings of power and arrogance, lived without fear of death, wielding sorcery and science alike. To the Necron, this was intolerable. Why should they, who had achieved so much, be bound in chains of mortality when others soared free? Envy is a poison, and when fed long enough, it becomes hatred. From their silent king, Sarek, came a decision that would unmake everything. If death was their enemy, then they would destroy death itself. If mortality was their chain, then they would break it no matter the price. But what price is too high when an entire race longs to escape the grave? The answer came in the form of gods, star-eaters, the Kantan, entities of living energy who drifted across the void like shards of night-made flesh. The Necron reached to them with trembling hands, and the gods answered with promises: power, eternity, freedom from the curse of flesh. And so, the pact was struck. The Necron would give their bodies to the flames of transformation. They would surrender themselves to the machines of biotransference. Imagine halls as vast as cathedrals, filled with the screams of a people, great engines of living, metal carving flesh from bone, stripping away identity, siphoning the very soul. The air choked with smoke, sparks, and the stink of burning mortality. You are taken there dragged, willing or not. A noble, perhaps, or a soldier. You lie down upon the slab, trembling as metal tendrils pierce your veins. A searing heat floods your body, as if your blood itself is aflame. Your eyes roll back. You scream, and scream, and scream until your throat is gone, your voice stolen, your flesh dissolved into nothing but ash and memory. When your sight returns, you are standing. Your body is whole, but it is not yours. You look into polished obsidian walls and see the reflection of something skeletal, something alien, the figure of living alloy where once there was flesh. Your heart is gone, your breath is gone, yet still you endure. In that moment, you know the truth. Your people have escaped death, but they have not escaped damnation. Was this salvation, or the cruelest damnation ever conceived? Time passes, time loses meaning. You exist now in the tomb, alongside countless others like you, all silent, all still. For millennia you stand unmoving, your consciousness dimmed to a flicker, resting in the endless dark of stasis. And then suddenly you awaken. A pulse of command surges through your mind. Limbs lock into motion, pistons whining, gears grinding. Around you, thousands rise in unison. No words are spoken, no orders shouted. There is only the silent compulsion. You obey because you must. You obey because the will is not your own. Your daily life, if such a word still has meaning, is monotony wrapped in iron, guarding dead worlds, standing vigil over tomb complexes, waiting for enemies who may never come, patrolling the wastes of lifeless planets, your steps echoing against cracked stone, all without a word, all without companionship. But sometimes the silence cracks. A flicker of memory pierces the fog. You see a face, you hear laughter, a child's hand reaching for yours, a woman's voice whispering your name. For a moment, you remember you were once alive, but then the programming crushes it down, erases it, leaving only cold silence in its place. Could you endure a life where every thought is trapped inside your skull, forever unheard? And then the war codes awaken you. You feel it like chains dragged across your soul. The summons reverberates in the hollow chamber of your mind, pulling you forward whether you wish it or not. Limbs jerk, spines straighten, weapons hum to life. You are no longer still, you are marching. The tomb world shudders as its gates grind open, and cold starlight spills across the legions. Rows upon rows of warriors, identical, soulless, skeletal, stand shoulder to shoulder. You are one among them, indistinguishable, stripped of name and face. All that remains is obedience. When the command strikes, you advance. Silent feet crush the dust of millennia. Gauss weapon locked in your skeletal grip, its coils whispering with power. You feel nothing of pride, nothing of fear. Yet deep within, the ember of what you once were shudders, horrified. Battle is not battle, it is slaughter. Flesh burns away beneath your weapon's green fire, living bodies reduced to piles of ash and bone. You cannot stop, you cannot question. You do not roar with rage, nor cry with triumph. You only march, fire, kill, again, and again, and again. You see the terror in the eyes of the living as they face you, men, aliens. Whatever they are, they scream, they beg, they run, but you keep coming. And though you feel no triumph, no joy, there is still that flicker, that faint echo of a memory that whispers, "This is wrong." But what choice do you have? If you cannot choose your battles, do you still bear the burden of the blood you spill? There are moments rare, fleeting, where the programming falters. Perhaps it is the face of an enemy, wide-eyed and screaming, that stirs something buried deep within you. Perhaps it is the sound of laughter, faint, imagined, carried on memory. Perhaps it is nothing at all, only the sudden spark of awareness, and in those moments you scream, not aloud for you cannot, but within, in the silent tomb of your mind. A rebellion of thought, a desperate clawing for freedom. You remember your name, you remember your life. For a heartbeat, you are not a slave, but then just as quickly it is gone. The command resets, the memory is drowned, the silence returns. Imagine the horror, to awaken, to know the truth of what you are, only to be shackled once more. To remember you were alive, only to be forced to forget. What would be worse, to forget you were ever alive, or to remember every moment and be unable to stop yourself? And yet, there are those who awaken more fully. Warriors whose programming cracks wider, whose minds burn brighter. For them, eternity is not silence, it is torment. Every order obeyed is a chain driven deeper into their soul. Every battle fought is a reminder that they are not free. These warriors know they are damned. They see their brothers, hollow and unthinking, and they envy them, for to forget is mercy, to remember is agony. Some seek death in battle, throwing themselves against impossible odds, hoping their alloy bodies will finally fail. But death is denied them, for when they fall, they rise again, repaired, reforged, returned to war, again, and again, and again. For the Necron warrior, even destruction is not an end, it is only another cycle of silence. You are a tool now, an instrument wielded by lords who may themselves regret what they have become. To overlords you are expendable, to cryptex you are a subject for experiment, to immortals you are beneath notice. You are the lowest rung of eternity's ladder, and yet you are the foundation. Without you, the legions do not march. Without you, the tomb worlds remain still. It is upon your shoulders, and the shoulders of billions like you, that the Necron dynasties endure. You were once a fragile mortal, cursed with too little life. Now you are an immortal husk, cursed with too much. Your body will not wither, your soul is chained. There is no escape but rust and ruin. They are echoes, the scholars of the galaxy whisper. Echoes of a civilization that chose survival over dignity, and lost both. They sought eternity, but what they found was eternal silence. The galaxy looks upon you with fear. To the Imperium of Man, you are a soulless machine, an abomination that cannot be reasoned with. To the servants of chaos, you are untouchable, a prize that cannot be corrupted. To the Xenos of 1,000 stars, you are nightmare. Made flesh legions that rise again and again, every fallen soldier, a horror that rebuilds itself. But within you, the truth remains. You are not soulless, you are not mindless, you are not nothing. You are still screaming. The Silent King himself knew regret. Sarek, who had led his people into damnation, fled into the void, leaving his dynasties to slumber in endless tombs. His guilt was too vast to confess, his shame too deep to endure. Yet his departure did not free you. It did not free any of the billions bound in metal. His remorse was a ghost, powerless to undo what had been done. And so, across the galaxy, when the tombs stir and the ground trembles, the Necron warriors rise once more. Whole empires awaken, their banners unfurled, their dynasties reclaiming stars long abandoned. But you are still nothing more than one voice lost in the silence of the machine. To the Imperium, you are a horror story told in hushed tones. A world is contacted, and within days its cities are emptied, its defenders obliterated, its hives turned to ash. Vox recordings capture only the sound of static and then the hum of green lightning before transmission ceases. To the soldiers of the Astra Militarum, you are death itself, marching forward without fear, without mercy, without end. To the Astartes, you are a puzzle and a challenge, a foe that will not stay dead, whose machines repair themselves, whose weapons slice through ceramite as if it were parchment, yet none of them know what you feel. None of them understand that behind the hollow gaze of your eyes, something lingers, something remembers. Is there redemption for a race that has already forsaken its soul? Or is that hope itself nothing but another illusion, another chain? There are those who whisper of possibilities. Some claim that the Silent King, in his endless exile, seeks a way to undo the curse, to restore his people's flesh. Others believe the warriors are too far gone, their souls too fractured, their humanity devoured by the Chatan long ago. Perhaps, they argue, there is nothing left to save, but others, madmen, heretics, or dreamers, speak of fragments. They say that when the Khaitan feasted upon the Necrontyr, they did not consume all. That echoes of souls remain, trapped, half alive, within the living metal. That somewhere in the lattice of your being, the faintest ember of your essence burns. If that were true, what then? Could the Necron warrior be reborn? Could the machine fall away and reveal the mortal beneath? Or would such an awakening only unleash greater torment, 1,000 millennia of agony flooding back into fragile flesh? And if this were you, if your body was metal, your soul hollow, your scream unheard, would you pray for death, or would you cling to immortality, no matter how cursed? The battles continue. Time becomes meaningless. Planets burn, empires crumble, species fall into dust, yet you remain. You endure not because you choose, but because you must. Your body does not age. Your will is not your own. You march, and you kill, and you wait for the silence between wars. The silence, that is the true prison. For in the long void between campaigns, when the tombs close once more and you are left in stillness, there is nothing to distract you. No battle to obey, no slaughter to fulfill. Only darkness, only memory, only the scream that cannot escape. It is then, perhaps, that you hear the truth most clearly. You were never saved, you were only bound. And so we return at last to you. You stand in the tomb, immobile, waiting. You have no heartbeat, no breath, no hunger, no thirst. Yet your mind flickers still, a faint ember refusing to extinguish. You are a soldier in a war that never ends, a soul chained to eternity. And though the galaxy fears you, though enemies call you soulless, the truth is far darker, for you do have a soul, and it is still there, screaming, clawing at its cage of iron, unheard across the void. For the Necron Warrior, there is no peace in death, no joy in life, only silence, eternal, unbroken, and if you listen closely perhaps, just perhaps you can almost hear them, still screaming within, fade into silence,